My biggest struggle with mental health was anxiety and panic attacks. I had horrible panic attacks from the time I turned about 32 to about last year. I'm talking waking up in the middle of the night, can't breathe, on the floor crying, having to call my mom, having to go to the emergency room. And I dealt with that by talk therapy. I have a therapist, so I talk to a couple times a month. And I also got on medication, and I'm not ashamed to say that. I took Lexapro for a year, and it really did help reset my nervous system. And it helped me because I didn't realize this, but I had a lot of ruminating thoughts, where I'd pick a subject and it would be bothering me, and I would just think about it all day. And then once I took the Lexapro, it was like peace. And so now that I'm off it, I can tell the difference between when I get in those ruminating cycles and when I'm not. So to answer your question, panic disorder and medication are my biggest struggles I've had with my personal mental health.
I think that mental health and kind of the way that we treat ourselves and the way that we treat one another is ingrained in our society, unfortunately. We've made it okay to talk shit about ourselves. We've made it okay to judge others in the way that they are. And with this, we've kind of created this perfect human being, what everybody should look like, what everybody should feel like. And we never, have stopped to say, maybe that's a little bit unhealthy. Maybe people's experiences will mold them. And so that's what systemic means to me, is that, we're just born into this thing. I didn't know, and no one talked to me about this when I was younger, when I was like 14, 15 years old. But I didn't know as an adult that struggling to get up in the morning was a part of depression. And I had lived through that from the age of 14 to about 28. I had no clue, never talked to a doctor about it. My family just called me lazy. They called me unmotivated. And I thought that was really interesting, because by the time I was 25, I had already 2 businesses under my belt. I was a high achiever, had degrees. I was ready to go. And I was, just kind of put in this box of somebody who's just undetermined in life. And until I decided to break off an engagement, go talk to a doctor, and get healthy physically and mentally, I uncovered that I probably should wake up at a decent hour and have some type of routine and drink water in the morning, and those things would be considered normal. But staying in the bed for 24 hours is not normal. And it took 16 years to figure that out.
I think there's a stigma anyway in the Black community about talking about mental health. So that's not a huge thing that we would talk about. If you felt a certain way, it was kind of like, okay, suck it up, get over it, or pray about it. Did you pray about it? Yeah, I did, but I kind of need something that's more tangible for me to do. And therapy has helped with that a lot. Just learning how to pretty much ground myself again once I hit that area to bring myself back down. I think that would be a huge part for me. And then just learn to just be myself regardless of who's gonna like it or not. Growing up, I had to fit in with things. I was the oddball out. Me and my siblings kind of joke about you were the Cinderella. I'm it's not really a joke, guys. It's really fucked up, actually. But anyway. So just learn to accept me just for me being the weird person that I am, and loving it. So
the first thing that comes to mind when I think about 2020, what happened, I call it June 2020, and the little black squares that were everywhere, and all these companies saying, we want to hire people. I work in technology. We want to hire people. We want diversity, equity, and inclusion everywhere. And I talk to Black people who work in tech often, and nothing's changed. So I'm just curious, we're almost to June 21, is it gonna take a full year? I know it takes a while to transform, but when you have millions, sometimes billions of dollars, does it really take that much time? Is money the issue, or is it just people? And so when you talk about people being surprised last year, I don't think that people were surprised. I think it was very easy for them to say that they were surprised. But I remember telling my team that I needed a break because I was embarrassed. And the reason I was embarrassed was because this is happening in 2020. This also happened when my mom was my age, and this also happened when my grandma was my age. And we had these conversations about rioting taking place, people getting arrested, people getting murdered, activists disappearing, right? We had talked about all these things. So these happened 3 generations ago that I know of, right, personally, and now it's happening now. During the time of the election, and anytime there's any type of political uproar, I take a sister siesta. So there's an Instagram page that is built around Black women just taking a break. I'm not doing that. No, thank you. I'm gonna enjoy my candles and probably just go knit. And oh, there's riots happening outside. Awesome, very happy for you. I'm going over here and I'm completely disassociating from this conversation right now because it's not the healthiest thing for me. And I think that there are people who are out there doing the Lord's work, protesting, being on the front line, literally putting their lives in danger. And there have been people who have been snatched up. There have been people who have been killed from protesting that are suffering, you know, through mental health crises and everything like that. That's their journey, and I'm, again, very thankful for them. I just can't do it all the time. I do it enough at work in small ways, right? I cookie crumb at work, but I can't do it all the time.
It wasn't a huge like, oh my God, this is happening. It was kind of like, oh, now y'all see what we're talking about. Okay, we've been saying this the whole time. It's not a surprise. So it wasn't like a huge thing.
Oh, I just couldn't believe that after seeing Rodney King get beat up in 1992, that it was almost 20 years later, or 30 years, almost 30 years later, and it was the exact same thing. I could not believe it. I personally have not watched the George Floyd video because I know it would get to me. I've heard about it. I don't want to see it. And when the race, you know, when the protests started, I was heartwarmed because you saw all types of people, and that was a big difference between before and now, is that you saw all types of people, white, Black, Asian, everybody stood up and said, no, we are tired. We're tired of seeing this. And I remember I had a call with one of my bosses, and he's like, oh, can you believe it, blah, blah, blah. And I said, I can't believe it. I can't believe it because people are tired of seeing this. You know, and I remember when Colin Kaepernick was doing his kneel protest, and my boss, she's a white lady, and she's like, well, I just want to know why they're doing it at football games. And I'm like, oh, because football games are sacred events. Like, no, not at the football games. So yeah, and I do anyway, feel, I don't want to get into those heavy conversations at work because I work here, you're not my friend, you're not, you know, a peer. But yeah, it still blows my mind. It's just like, you guys don't care. And I don't know if it's an age difference, because I do feel like the younger generations of people who aren't colored, they get it. But them, they're just like, I don't, you know, you don't understand, and that's the problem, and that's what people are upset about, you know? Yeah, it's heavy.
Angry Black woman. That would piss me off simply because I was very assertive. I would tell you exactly what I needed to say, and then people would be like, oh, you're upset, you have an attitude, this, that, and the other. And I'm like, no, I'm just letting you know like what's okay and what's not, or I'm asking you to do something, or I'm asking you not to do something, or I'm presenting my opinion in a strong way and you're offended by it because you think I'm supposed to ask for permission of some sort. So yeah, that was definitely one that got like just hung over my head like a little plaque.
So Black women can have agoraphobia, and I just want to say that out loud. So a lot of times I'll be in a public space and I just notice things like people not washing their hands or being too close, just proximity, and I will have a panic attack, or I'll, my anxiety will kick up like a notch or two. And I wish that people would understand that that's not me being an angry Black woman. I am literally having a mental health moment in public, just like this white girl sitting over here in the corner. But it's associated with being the angry Black woman who doesn't like people. And that's just not the case. I just have agoraphobia.
What advice would you give to your 16-year-old self?
It is going to get better, because when you're 16 and you're a teenager, you think this is it, and if this group of people doesn't like me, then oh my God, and there's so much life to live. You haven't even begun to scratch the surface of living at 16. You're gonna go on to do so many good things, and so don't worry about the circumstances you're in now. Just stay focused on what you want out of your life, and you will definitely achieve it. But don't worry so much, because I was a very worried and angsty teenager. Yeah.
Girl, just wear the box braids. Just wear them. Put the cornrows. Just do that. Take care of your hair is number one. And I think that that's so important, because when I was 16 years old, I wanted to perm my hair. When I was younger than that, I wanted to be Ariel. So like long locks of like red hair. And with my shrinkage, I was like probably here at max, right? So I would definitely tell my 16-year-old self, I would encourage her in her beauty, and in her skin. So I would tell her that she's absolutely gorgeous and that she's gonna win in life, period. And I would tell her that she's smart, and I would tell her that she's creative, because that's not something that she got a whole lot of when she was 16.
Wrong girl. No, I'm kidding. 16-year-old Kaye. Let's see. The hell was I doing at 16? Honestly, I probably would have just told myself to first you have to accept you, and then everything, like who's supposed to accept you will, and who doesn't isn't for you. Like everybody's not for you, so, and you're not for everybody. So, yeah.
It's really important to us to like consider like where we've come from and not get upset with that. Realize that that's what needed to happen in order for us to get to this place. And I'm not blaming anyone, slavery. I'm not blaming anyone, colonialism. But it had to start at a certain place, and now we're just picking up from where this really shitty thing started, and we're saying we're moving out of that. Thank you for the opportunity for us to show our bodies, to be angry, to act, to be on film. Thank you for the opportunity, and now we're gonna take it and we're gonna run with it in another direction. We're gonna show you what Black women are, who Black women are, truly. Thank you, appreciate it, have a nice day. Black women should never humble themselves.